Hello and welcome to another episode of the KDI Wealth Alchemist. I've got Heidi Oakley with me today. She's one of our amazing financial advisors in Tucson. And with April being Financial Literacy Month, we wanted to pop on today and talk about common missteps or financial mistakes that we see in either younger individuals or people that just haven't had much education. Most of these are really easy to avoid and set you up well in the long run. The first one that we wanted to talk about was lifestyle creep after your first real paycheck. We see a lot of high school, just out of college kids that get an internship for 2, 3, 4 years. It probably isn't paying you very well. And you get that first real 2 weeks full of pay and you're the richest person in the world. But a lot of that time, what we see happens is you get used to that next paycheck and the next paycheck. And if you get another raise, you get used to that paycheck. So it's easy to have what we call lifestyle creep, where you get accustomed to the newest, biggest, best paycheck that you're getting. And a lot of times that doesn't always continue. So it's a really easy thing to keep in mind, and it's great into understanding what your savings rate is versus what your monthly income is. It sounds silly, but they're two very different things. Heidi, another thing that we see very often is that most people don't actually know where most of their money goes each month.
I would agree with that. People are very unaware. In fact, we see it in the office all the time, right? I can't afford to save into my IRA while they're sitting there with a very large, expensive morning drink from a coffee shop. So minor adjustments can help save. It's not that you can't go out to eat or get your morning coffee treat, but 5 days a week might be excessive. Maybe you do it 2 or 3 times, and you'd be surprised how many hundreds of dollars that can end up going to savings. The other thing that floors me is the new generation just taps their phone as they're paying. So how do you really know what you're spending? So there's certainly apps that can help you track your spending, spreadsheets if you're one of those folks. But being aware of what you spend, you might be surprised at where some of that money's going. And an easy way to do that is with a credit card, right, Dylan?
Oh, completely. If you're just tapping, and it's easier than ever today, Amazon's got your one click right to your door. It's easier than ever to spend money. I'll say that. So definitely know exactly where your monthly dollars are being spent, whether you're saving that, spending it, it's going to rent or a mortgage. It's important just to have a good feel on where those dollars are going monthly.
And if you know where it's going, you can make those little adjustments, and then you can start dividing out. We kind of use that 60-40-10 equation, or the 50-30-20, depending on how late you start, with what you're living on, what you're saving, and what you're putting toward retirement. And along that process, upgrades to nicer things, because we actually have a paycheck, or a bigger house because our family's growing. We can do those without having really enough cash reserves. And if we set those habits and knowing where our money goes, maybe we can set a cash buffer that's appropriate.
Yeah, completely. And with knowing that, it's really easy to confuse affordable with a low monthly payment. There's more ways than ever that you can pay for things over a deferred period of time. I mean, you can there's plenty of apps out there where you can stretch a $20 payment over 4 months. We do not want you guys to do that. It might seem affordable at the time. It ends up costing you more down the road. And while it might be a smaller monthly payment that you can afford today, those start to add up on each other and tack up. And before you know it, most of that paycheck's gone monthly. We see that a lot when you upgrade either your housing to a bigger house or a newer car. Those are the two biggest things. It feels affordable. And then once you sign that paper and that bill keeps coming monthly, it really starts to hit you.
Same thing happens when you refinance or consolidate. Sometimes it seems great, but if you don't run the math, you might be surprised. You might be in a good position already without incurring the refinancing or consolidation fees. So you've got to watch that. Another thing are those credit scores. You've got to monitor those, right, Dylan?
Completely. Credit's another big one. We see a lot of people that don't get started until later in life, and it runs into some issues when you have that. So we recommend getting started early. There's plenty of ways, if you look it up, how to do it. I won't say it better than they will, but at least knowing what makes up a credit score is a big portion of it. And 35% of it is actually your payment history. Paying on time is the biggest factor. The next biggest one is your credit utilization. How much of a balance are you keeping on this card? You don't have to let it get charged interest, but the companies do want to see you using the card. And that's 30% of it. 15% is length of credit history. So you're older individuals, you're likely doing pretty well here. But if you're in your 20s, there's nothing you can do about this. So getting started early is the best way to get a jump on that. Having a varied mix of credit, whether that be credit cards, personal loans, there's a bunch of different aspects. A mortgage would be another one. The wider array of credit you have, the better. And that counts for about 10% of the score. And then the last 10% looks at either new credit or inquiries, whether you have to go get your credit checked, a hard check. That'll put a small ding on your score for a few months until that falls off. But knowing how a credit score is actually calculated helps you think about what I can do really to improve that.
And another area I'm big on is savings and emergency savings. Just saving in general for a trip you want to take, that's always great. But having a reserve of cash, unfortunately, on occasion, companies close and you walk in one Monday and don't have a job, or things shift in life. And so it's really nice to have enough emergency savings to hold you over for 3, 6, or maybe even 12 months. So your lifestyle doesn't change, you don't panic, and you can just keep going to find that new employment and new method. Granted, to get to that amount takes time. Don't put the stress on yourself that you got to be there tomorrow, but start small and you'll get there.
Completely. It's really easy to get comfortable when your income is stable. When you have a W-2 job and you're getting the same paycheck every 2 weeks, things feel great. You get accustomed, and it's easy to let that emergency fund dwindle down. But we definitely recommend at least 3 to 6 months of expenses. And after that, one of the other big things is, like you said, it's easy to save for vacations and emergency funds, but it's also easy to put those vacations, those trips on credit and then paying them off after the fact. What we would rather you do is save up for the trip ahead of time and then pay for it all at once. And then you're not sitting there with a high balance on a credit card with high interest rates. It's a simple switch you can do. You're paying the same amount either way, but if you do it ahead of time, you're not paying interest fees, late charges, things like that. So it's just a little smarter way to approach it.
I have a good little story to that. I had a roommate in college who loved to buy things on sale on the credit card. So one day I did the math for her and told her how much her on sale item cost, and it far exceeded its regular price. So those interest rates add up quick on the credit card for what you think you're getting a good deal on. I've actually had a few clients too, Dylan, tell me they couldn't start investing because they didn't have enough money. I think that's a big misconception.
Getting started early and having time in the market rather than timing the market is the biggest thing. But that compounding power where your money starts working for you and making its own money is where we want everyone to get to. I mean, no one wants to work until they're 80 unless you really enjoy your job and have fun, then go for it. More power to you. Another one we also see is people keep a lot of money in their checking accounts, more than what they need to. You see hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes sitting in checking accounts that earn pennies yearly, when there's high yield savings accounts, money market accounts. There's a lot of other options out there that are still conservative, liquid options that you can get to within just a day or two. And that'll give you quite a bit more interest a year.
Yeah. Your money should be working for you. You worked hard for it, let it work hard for you, right?
That's it.
Yeah. Sometimes too, I have people wish their employer paid them more, right? They want to get paid more. And we have to remind them, right? Your employer is matching a 401k. If you would at least put in at a minimum what they're willing to match you, because they anticipated you taking advantage of it. Any employer perk like that you're not taking advantage of, well, there's your extra money. So you definitely want to put in at least what your employer's matching. Of course, our goals are a little higher for you, but get started there and get the match. It's money they want to give you.
One of the other things that we see quite often is overconfidence from people that have started investing on their own. They might have opened a small brokerage account somewhere. We saw it a lot during COVID when crypto really took off. Were some of these investments, you might have just heard about it on the news and put a few $100 in there and it doubled or tripled. We see people then keep chasing that high of that great return on these speculative investments. There's plenty of them out there, but it normally doesn't continue that way. Most day traders aren't successful long term, and that's what we're investing for is the long term. You can be successful in the short term and it feels good, but we're here to help you make money, but we're also here to keep you from being poor later in life.
Agreed. And unfortunately, with social media, there are some folks out there giving out advice that aren't even licensed. So you need to check your resources too, I would say on that, just to be sure you're getting it from somebody who should maybe be giving out the advice, not their personal ideas.
There's a lot of good information out there. You definitely want to double check, triple check whatever you hear, or ask someone that's an expert in that specific field how that might impact you. It might sound great on social media, Instagram, or TikTok. It might not specifically apply to you. There's a lot of details and nuances around a lot of these plans and tax strategies. So definitely just make sure to consult an expert before just jumping into something you saw in a 30-second video.
Definitely. I also am going to throw out a little wild one here and like the competing with the Joneses. Hopefully, most of you know that term. Be really careful who you're competing with. A lot of it's an illusion. A lot of debt is in this country and incurring on a regular rate. That's not the crowd we want you to follow. It's a lot of stress and a lot of commitment and may alter from what you would really love to have in life. So be careful about the illusions you see and what reality really is behind those closed doors.
The last thing I did want to touch on is we see this across people every age, is not understanding their savings rate versus their monthly income. You can make $1 million a year, but if you spend 999,000 of that every year, you're not saving anything and you're going to feel broke. You can make more than 99% of the country and still feel like you have not enough. But the same person that's making 30 grand that only spends 20, it's about that savings rate and not keeping up with the Joneses, like you said, and letting that lifestyle creep pull in. We want to make sure that you're saving an appropriate percentage of your income, and that sets you up long term rather than just making more. If you don't save any of it, you really don't end up in a great spot.
No, we want you to have a beautiful lifestyle your entire life. That's most important, whatever it is for you. And again, when you're looking online and people say you need X amount of dollars before you can retire, goes right back to that lifestyle and what your needs are. Because certainly some people need more than others because of that lifestyle.
Yeah, there's plenty of approaches. We have people now more than ever that are retiring at a young age and spending not very much a year. And it works out, and that's great. We've also got people that are working for a little bit longer to fund a more lavish lifestyle for longer. It all depends on what your specific wants and needs are. But definitely, there's no set answer. You need X to retire. It is very personalized to you, and we want to make sure that we plan around that and make sure that advice is actually good advice.
Amen. And the next generation's coming up. So certainly having kids come in to understand those plans, to help them understand how to navigate this new space they're in for employment is something all of us really enjoy doing too.
Oh, completely. One other portion we see a lot is inheritances. We see more, and it's called the great wealth transfer in the next few years. So when you get that big inheritance, it might feel big to you and it might be a large amount of money. We definitely suggest that you don't do anything for a few days or even a few weeks and let that sit there and let the shock wear off. And then after that, connect with someone that can help you and set you up long term with that bucket of money.
Money is a tool. We attach a lot of emotion to it, but it's a tool that can provide you all the enjoyment, the safety, and all the beautiful things in life that you might want or enjoy having. But these little tricks we talked about and little things to tackle, they're really minor and they make a huge difference.
Feel free to reach out if anyone has any questions after watching this. Heidi, thanks for joining us. Again, this was another episode of the KDI Wealth Alchemist, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.